share with you my newest hobby. I think it technically counts as sewing still because you use the sewing machine, but I've learned how to make rope baskets. I'm very excited about this. It's kind of addicting. You sew in a spiral and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just keep going and going and going, and so it's kind of mesmerizing as you go. But I watched a couple tutorials by a gal, her channel is Crafty Patty. I'll link down below so you can check her out as well. And she has great tips and a great way of kind of showing and demonstrating how to do it, so you can see it all really easily and you can understand how to do it just from her tips. But I'm very excited. This was the first one I did, and the rope I used is just some cotton cording, and it was really easy to work with. So that's why this one looks nice, because it was such a simple material to work with. And then after I made this one, it was just cording that I had on hand. I'd been planning on doing something with it years ago, and bought it, and then never did anything. And so I was cleaning out craft supplies and realized I'm going to do something with it. I'm never going to use it for the original intent, so I'm going to make a basket. And I made a basket. And then after I finished that one, I asked my husband if he had any old rope. So he went searching through the garage and found a couple lengths of old rope for me. And so this one is made out of it's a thin twine, which was a little more difficult to work with, required a little more precision and focus. And I wasn't as focused as I could be. So there's some spots that I didn't catch, that I left little holes. But it has enough integrity to hold kids' toys, which is what it's been used for this week. It's nice because it can be smushed around when it's empty and just pops back into shape. And you can tell this one's really wonky. This one I definitely learned about the fact that as you're sewing it and adding the new rope into it, you have to be very careful with how much tension and what angle you're holding the basket on, because you start sewing it right in the center, but as you start sewing outward, you have it on the machine like this, and you're rotating it with one hand while you're adding the new rope in with the other hand. And so this one, I learned that I imagine it's probably similar to pottery, which I've never done actual clay pottery on a wheel. But as you're going around in the circle, if you add more tension on one side and loosen up on the other side, then you see that come out in the shape of the bowl, or basket, as the case may be. And so that was a good lesson with this one. This one's my learning basket. So it's okay that it's kind of ugly, but it's still usable, and the kids have been playing with it quite a bit. And then my last one was a very small one because there wasn't much of this red rope, but it works beautifully for small little things. I'm currently using it to hold glue sticks and little paper shapes. I introduced my girls to glue this week, which felt very scary, but so far they've been very responsible. I've been very impressed with their gluing abilities. But this is what our projects have been this week, doing brightly colored pieces of paper, gluing them. And so if you need something to do with the kiddos, so far this has been a hit. I found some of the paper punches at the thrift store for really cheap, and so there's some little bears and little ovals, but the rest of the shapes I just cut out triangles and squares and rectangles. And I actually used paper that the girls painted last week, so kind of just repurpose it and put it to another use. And so that's where you can see the ones that have the colors on it. Those were their paintings from last week, because if your kids like arts and crafts, you end up with so many pieces of art, and there's only so much that you can put up on the walls, or send to the grandparents, or use as wrapping paper, or like you have to do something with it, or it just goes in recycling, which isn't terrible. But I do like to try to use a piece of paper more than once. If it was just used for painting or coloring, it's nice to have one more use out of it before it turns into recycling. But there's an idea for you if your kids need something, or if you don't know if glue sticks are a good idea. I've been very impressed that so far we have yet to have any glue smeared on the face or on the table. It's all been corralled to the paper. So I know some of that will depend on your child and their interest level. I know my son, when he's old enough to have glue, I think he's going to be the one who's a little more adventurous with it. The girls they're a little bit more focused on kind of following the rules and doing what you're supposed to do, whereas my boy is much more adventurous and kind of learn through experience rather than, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'm going to do that. So it'll be fun to see how he reacts to it. It's just fun seeing the different personalities in them. But yes, those are my crafts for this week. And it's been fun doing it. I'm now plotting different ways to get old rope. So if you have any ideas of locations where I would get old rope, it was so much fun making them. And there's so much that you can do with it. This is a small one. You can make, I've seen really big ones like in stores. I would love to make like a laundry basket sized one to put laundry in and things like that. And I love how they look, especially if you're being careful with your sewing. Makes a big difference. But yeah, and you can add like little designs. This one I added an extra length of rope in the center to make a nice stripe. And as I've said before, I love making things that are usable. And then if I'm making it myself, I can make it, as pretty or decorative as I want, but it also has a purpose. And so it's fun seeing things around the house that I made and that are serving a purpose of organizing our stuff and making our house more livable and more homey, because rather than clutter everywhere, clutter is only some of the wear. We only have 70% clutter instead of 100% clutter because a couple items are in baskets now. But I am still working on the decluttering thing. I have added some bins to our shelf, and that's been fun, having the shelves just look a little cleaner, a little nicer, where you don't see the clutter until you pull the bin out and look inside and go, ooh, look at all that fabric. But it has been nice having things just a little bit cleaner, and I'm going to continue with my goal of working on the house, trying to get things in order and making it a homey place, a place where we want to be. So I will get back to you next week on what I accomplish with my days. Have a good week.